Rain hammered against the old wooden roof like 1,000 tiny fists, and David stood in the doorway of his small, dimly lit house, exhausted from another long shift. He was a single dad, barely scraping enough to put food on the table for his 7-year-old son, Liam. Money was tight, hope was tighter, but when he opened the door to step inside, he noticed something unusual. A young teenage girl sat curled up on the porch steps, drenched, shivering, and clearly terrified. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Pete, please, I got separated from my group. I don't know where I am," she whispered. For a moment, David hesitated. He could barely care for himself and his son, how could he help a stranger? But something in her trembling voice hit him deep in the chest. He remembered the cold nights he once faced with no place to go. So, without another thought, he offered a soft smile. "Come in, you're safe here." Before we continue this powerful story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Trust the Sutregal, where every story reminds us that kindness still matters. Inside, Liam ran up, curious. "Dad, who's she?" "A friend who needs help," David gently answered. They gave her dry clothes, old, patched, but warm. David made soup with the last vegetables they had. The girl ate slowly, as if she hadn't had a real meal in days. She introduced herself as Emily and said she had lost contact with her father while traveling. That night, David offered her the only extra bed they had, while he slept on the couch. As Emily rested, something remarkable happened. She woke up in the middle of the night overhearing David whisper to himself in the dark. "I hope I can pay the rent this month, please, not another eviction." She saw a father struggling quietly, choosing kindness despite his own pain. Tears filled her eyes. Morning came. Before dawn even broke, someone banged loudly on the door. When David opened it, he froze. A man in a sharp suit stood soaked in panic and fear, followed by 2 bodyguards. His voice cracked. "Emily, Emily, are you here?" Emily ran into his arms, sobbing. It was her father. The man turned to David, breathless. "What did you do for my daughter?" David shrugged humbly. "Just gave her a place to stay." The man's eyes lingered on the peeling paint, the flickering lights, the threadbare blankets, and the kindness that lived inside this tiny home. "Do you know who I am?" the father asked gently. David shook his head. "I'm Richard Hale, CEO of Hale Enterprises. One of the wealthiest businessmen in the state." David gulped, suddenly nervous. Richard's voice softened, filled with gratitude. "My daughter was missing for 2 days. You gave her warmth, safety, and dignity. That's worth more than all the money I have." He offered David an envelope and a job card right on the spot. "I want men like you in my company. Honest, compassionate, loyal." Inside the envelope was enough money to cover rent for months, and more. David could barely speak. But he didn't take the money for himself. He used it to buy new textbooks for Liam, fix the roof, and donate warm blankets to a nearby shelter. Emily visited often afterward, forming a bond with Liam like a sister. Their families became close, connected not by wealth, but by kindness. Months later, while watching their children play in the park, Richard turned to David. "You know, I've met thousands of people in business. But only a few ever reminded me what humanity truly means." David smiled, eyes glistening in the sunlight. "I didn't do anything special. I just did what I hoped someone would do for my son." In life, kindness costs nothing. But it can change everything. Sometimes, the smallest act from the poorest hand can reach the richest heart, and reshape 2 families forever. If you're listening right now, remember,